going on, guys? Welcome to the Essential Scares podcast, the only show where we watch and play our way through horror to determine what is truly essential. I am your host, Corbin, and with me today is Bobby.
I have an unsettling and ever-growing amount of skulls on my desk right now.
Alan.
Good evening.
We have got a great show for you today. We're going to be discussing Malignant, the brand new film and likely franchise to be from modern horror legend James Wan. Before we get into it, though, Bobby has a spoiler warning. Bobby?
I do. This will serve as your first one and only spoiler warning to the brand new film Malignant, or Malignant, as Alec Baldwin says in the hilarious SNL skit. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If you don't want Malignant or Malignant spoiled for you, go watch it on HBO Max, you dummy. Or just skip to the time code ahead. Is Malignant scary? I mean, like, is it? I watched this movie for like an hour and like 52 minutes, and I feel like there were parts that should have been scary, but I still can't tell. But did I have fun with Malignant? I think I did. Corbin?
I like how this week your spoiler warning is just the Spark
My
Notes
review.
version of your review.
Yeah. It's a spoiler-free Spark Notes review.
Yeah.
Because the other thing I wanted to say is, what if they made Lights Out better?
Okay, I wrote that down. Did we all write that down?
I texted Bobby while I was watching it, and I said, is this just Lights Out but better? Or I think I said but gorier. Like, I'm so glad we all had that thought.
I didn't write it until like 80% of the way through the movie, but it was like one of the last times the lights flickered and Gabriel showed up, and I just wrote, the lights flicker and then he shows up. It makes me think of Lights Out every time.
The first one that had me do that is when she gets back in her house and she's looking out across the street and the lamp flickers on, the street lamp. Yeah. And he walks out. I'm like, oh my God, it's Lights Out.
What about just the very first scare of the movie when Derek, the abusive husband, is about to get killed? He sees Gabriel right in the shadows, and then he turns the light on and he's gone.
but the couch like lifts up, so it's like, you know, he was there. Ooh.
Yeah. Spooky. Yeah.
It was oh, by the way, Derek is this was one of the is like the third Derek? Winchester brother. Yeah, with the third Winchester brother from Supernatural. Maggie. Yeah. I was like, I texted Mal, like, I'm like, what's the third Winchester's brother's name? What is his name? And she's like, what? You mean Jared Padalecki? I'm like, no, the other one, the baby. And she's like, I have no idea what you mean. The and then she said the name, and I was like, yeah, he's an abusive husband in this movie.
It's okay. He's only in the movie for 3 minutes.
and he he sucks. I was like, Derek fucking sucks. And then Derek it was before he fucking smashes her face into the wall. I'm like, what the fuck? Derek really sucks. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I had a very similar note. I got, Derek is not a good guy. Okay, he is like real bad is exactly what I had written down.
My note on him was only 4 words long, and it was just abusive husband is abusive. Like, okay. And then he dies, so it didn't even matter.
Yeah. They needed the first kill to feel
the first character
relatable.
Less people
scary.
Die in the intro.
Yeah.
Which that was I want to talk about that intro real quick, because I think that the intro sets the stage for what the actual movie is so well. And like my very first 2 notes, and I think that this pretty much describes the whole movie, was very fun cinematography, and then first on-screen wound is played for laughs. And they just ran that train for all the way until the end, and personally, I'm so happy that they did. The dialogue is is so silly in that scene.
It's so fucking canned, dude. It's so okay. So like, I was like, this feels like a Resident Evil movie.
I wrote that down several times.
but for some reason, I'm about it here. Was the first note I wrote. Was like I'm so confused by this movie because It is not high art.
No, but it might be of the highest low art.
Yes. You know what? I think that could be a review you could put on the box.
The highest low art movie.
And it's not a bad review either. Like that's a compliment
I mean it
in a weird way.
Yeah.
I made it.
I went into this movie being like I'm gonna try to not, because my opinions
don't like
on
James Wan and you're trying
my opinions on James Wan are pretty actually well known at this point, but like I gotta give him credit. Like this movie, I didn't get that it was meant to be kind of like almost a black comedy until far too late. But when I finally got like that, it was like meant to be like a giallo, like, but like kind of almost paid for last kind of thing. I didn't get that until like far too late. But when I finally, I was like, I think I actually like this movie a lot, because I kept being like, I kept being like, this is stupid and doesn't work because I'm laughing at it. And then I'm like, but then there's other moments where I'm like, this actually kind of works. This is kind of cool. And then I was like, wait a second. What if the parts I was supposed to be laughing at are intentional? And then I started looking at it and I was like, okay, so maybe this movie's pretty dope. Like, it's not scary. I want to get that off the bat. There was no moments in this movie that I was like, huh. But yeah.
There was one jump scare in it and it got Maggie. It didn't get me.
What?
With Derek? Was there a jump
No,
there?
it was, I want to say it was more towards the middle of the film when we were seeing Gabriel at some point. He was just like a quick shot of him or something. There was just, I remember there was one because Maggie jumped and I was like, what are you jumping for? It's right, like, come on now. It's right there.
I don't know that they...
It was so... The only reason I remember it is because she jumped and looked at me with like, why didn't you jump?
Oh, yeah.
It's the only reason I remember there was one in the film.
Oh, man. So just to bounce off Bobby's point about it being funny and probably intentionally so, I think that one of the areas that you see this the most, where you might at first think this movie is just bad, is the dialogue. The dialogue is corny and at times stilted, and it feels like poorly written dialogue. But I think if you really think about it, it also, you know what it made me think of was Italian dialogue translated into English and then dubbed, like delivered back in, because all of the lines they're so obviously bad. It's like, this was clearly intentional. One of my favorites was when the main character, Madison, her birth mom, is in the hospital. And the cop is like, when's she gonna wake up? And then the other guy's like, she's in a coma. I don't know why, but that's just very funny to me.
There were a couple moments where like the explaining Gabriel was like, Jesus Christ, man. Like,
it was great. What about at the very end when like she's fighting Gabriel and then her sister just randomly is like, he ate your babies.
Yeah.
Like, I wrote that down like way in the beginning. I was like, are they gonna bring up these like miscarriages, or was that just like for fluff? And then finally 2 minutes before the end, they just wind that all the way back and just like offhanded. It's just silly.
He was feeding off your life force.
Or like, and another one of those lines, she was like, it was my body the whole time, and then lifts a 400-pound fucking hospital bed.
Okay, but I do kind of like that the movie stuck with the in-universe logic of that, where it's like, okay, well, Gabriel could do it, so why not?
It really adds to that corny like level of like just the delivery. If he could do it, I could do it.
Yeah,
and she just does.
But that's everything that with Gabriel is like everything about Gabriel like talking is like super fucking cringe.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Every time he opens his mouth, it's just like, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
I love that he was like, what if Jigsaw was like a step too far? That's how he felt to me.
Speaking of, though, right? Yeah. We should get right into it, because there's a couple things I want to mention outside of it. But like the big twist was it a big twist for you, or was it like painfully obvious? Because Alan said, for me, it was painfully obvious.
So it got me to some degree, because I did not anticipate the tone of what this movie would be based on the trailer at all.
Oh, me neither. I was definitely surprised.
No clue. I was thinking this was some sort of spooky, scary ghost story or something in that realm. So when the intro ends and "we need to cut out the cancer" is said directly to the camera, I'm like, okay, I need to recalibrate what I'm watching here, because this is not what I expected it to be.
And then you had a very 2003 opening credits sequence, which I adored, by the way.
But I
just cutting random flesh, like it's so early 2000s.
It's like a Disturbed video.
But I called the brother and sister thing.
2 dots over that U. Okay, real quick for some new metal.
I called the brother and sister thing pretty early on. That was pretty obvious. And I thought, like, and I said this to Bobby, like, in the back of my head, I'm like, maybe that they're, like, the one person, but I'm like, no, that's not going to be it. And I pushed that aside, and then I was like, no shit. All right, well, I guess that is the way we're going. Okay. I did like how Gabriel ran backwards. I thought that was fucking cool as fuck.
I thought it was stuff. It was awesome.
Gabriel moving was very cool. I was like, the first thing I said was, oh man, like the first time you see Gabriel, I'm like, oh man, that's really cool the way he moves. And I was like, also Gabriel is Voldemort head. I'm like Madison and Gabriel as Voldemort head, like, because like,
and it totally was,
yeah, and, like, because I mean, like, obviously, right, like, you even see like they pick up the socks, but like you can even kind of see Gabriel is on somebody, like, back in the thing where he's all like through the sheet. It's like that is somebody attached to somebody else's back.
Yeah, they're hiding it, but in the thinnest way possible.
Yeah,
and I think that's part of its influences. You know, I mean, this isn't the first movie to like do this kind of story, and like I think that it almost like it's not intended to be a huge gotcha, because if you're able to watch this movie and kind of understand what they're going for, you probably see it coming a mile away. So you just enjoy the ride as you go.
Oh yeah, and it was cool.
Yeah,
the fact that he was like a kung fu guy that I think kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Did it? The John Wick scenes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so like the one where like he's in the jail cell and he's just like killing all of the very, very, for some reason, dirty women. Like, just...
I thought that too. I was like, why does everybody look like they're from an episode of like NCIS? Like, just dirty and
like, stereotypical. It looks like it was like a post-apocalyptic. They got them from a post-apocalyptic extras set. Like
you guys here from Army of the Dead?
Yeah, like, and but like that was kind of cool. And again, that was when I was like, oh, James Wan definitely remembered Saw, because like he promised that this is going to be his most gory film, and I'm still not sure if that was fully delivered, but that was it was definitely an honest attempt.
I think it might have been delivered just by like raw quantity, because usually like Saw movies are super gory, but there's only like 4 kills, you know.
Yeah.
And this
but
one,
when they
killed
go,
like 20 people
like
in the jail alone. So
yeah,
I mean, he killed an entire police precinct, effectively. Like
yeah, but there's like what, like the best kill is done partially off screen. I think.
Which one?
Where he bashes the doctor with the trophy.
Mm-hmm. So I actually had an interesting note that I wrote down with that one, because thinking it's James Wan and thinking the gore was going to be high, because you don't see a ton of gore before that. I mean, you see the intro, the arm break, you see Derek get twisted, but then you just see like this off-screen head bash, and I wrote, is this just not going to be as gory as I expected it to be? Or I wrote something kind of similar to that, because I figured this is James Wan, there's going to be a camera shot to the skull bash, because that just was what I was expecting. Then you fast forward to just even as the movie went on, the next kill after that, when he had forged the weapon, also love it. Love the idea of taking a trophy, turning it into a sword. Super into it. That kill was substantially more gory because you actually get to see him like slash the doctor up. But it just that specific head bash kill, I was like, I thought they would have shown more there than kept it off screen.
For me, it worked the most out of all of them because like the stabby one was like they're both very clearly, a lot of this is like CGI gore, which is that's fine, whatever. But like, I don't know, there was something about just like the speed of the bashing and like the splat like that worked. And then when the dude like when he fucking stabbed the other dude, I was like, this is like weirdly clean, like compared to how like dirty the killer is. It felt like a little bit. And then I think
that's intentional though. I think that's part of like the Italian inspirations, because a lot of those movies are like, there is very clean violence.
Yeah. But then they show his like corpse afterwards that didn't really match the kill that we saw.
Yeah.
So like there was a little bit,
and then they kind of like take that the next step with that third kill by just not showing the kill and just showing the corpse.
So I guess on that point,
which
the second kill, the head bash, that was the female doctor, correct?
Yes. Like we have to cut out the cancer.
Cut out the cancer. Yeah. She gets bashed like that. You see all the women in the jail cell that get eviscerated. Those women are gored significantly more than the police precinct, which is all just like stabbings for the most part. I mean, one dude gets his head or his arm chopped off, which is pretty gory, but like, I don't know. I guess it's interesting that the women in this film seem to get much more gory kills than the men, who have almost more just straight, you're dead. And that's it. Like, there's not a lot of like fanfare to that. But
are we talking about the intrinsic sexism of horror films?
I mean, I guess to some degree, but that honestly stands out to me as like one of these things is not like the other, you know, like this is substantially more visceral than just a dude gets stabbed in the neck and dies.
Do you think that maybe it has less to do with the fact that a lot of the police were men and the jail people were women, and more to do with the fact that James Wan does quite like the police, and there's an element of holding back.
I didn't know that.
We have to make them heroic.
Yes, the police feature a central role in like every single one of his movies.
Yeah, I mean the entire
Saw franchise is a detective franchise.
Well, multiple detectives. That's not
right there. And so is this, right? Like if this becomes a franchise, like the police are they'll obviously feature prominently in every movie.
Yeah. I mean, the two cops are still alive at the end of it,
and so is that the third the CSI chick.
Okay. I loved her.
Funny. She was great. I loved it.
She was the
only one who was worried, like when I thought they were gonna kill her. I was like, oh
yeah, she was the only one.
Want her to die.
Yeah, she was the only one. I didn't care if anybody, but I was like, her love for that. What is his name? Kakoa?
Shaw, Detective Shaw. Yeah,
Kakoa. Shaw. Yeah, like where she was like so fucking but I was like, but I don't even care. It's so cute. She's just cute. Like, and great. Is it bad that it's a caricature? Yeah, and is it probably me being that this movie is like to a certain extent targeting men, and like I'm a man and I'm like, yes, I think the cute girl is cute. Like,
who would have thought,
it's probably not good. It's probably not good, but like, listen. I thought she was cute.
Happened.
I thought like her little character was cute. So fucking sue me.
I think it helps that everybody is a caricature in this movie. From every good guy and the villain, everybody is just a caricature. So it's like whatever. I'll let it wash away.
Listen, I have to protect my image here. Okay, I shouldn't like this movie, but I was very smitten by it for some reason. The more I talk about it, the more I'm selling myself.
James Wan movies you like. Or 3, including Aquaman.
I like the good ones, apparently.
Yeah.
And this one, I don't even know if it's good. I don't know.
This movie is super divisive. Online, it's very divisive.
I know.
The critic
scores and audience scores are not matching up one bit. Yeah. So oftentimes I say in our episodes that I do no research. I actually started looking into stuff after I watched this movie, which I think will reflect when we talk later in the show. And the first thing I looked up was, what are the reviews like for this movie? Because I just had to know after I finished it. Normally, I don't overly care where the reviews of other critics, other audience members are, but this one I had to know. Like, am I lining up at all with anybody? And it was just the delta between those two was like 30% or so, something like that. Like, it's a pretty big swing between critics and audience.
What is the audience score like? Because I saw the Rotten Tomatoes was like
55, I want to say
68%, 55.
I think when I looked, it was like 55.
I'm looking right now on Rotten Tomatoes.
Critic was 77.
It's 76 critics, 53 audience.
Yeah.
Which I get, right? Because I think because now technically we're critics.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is episode 16, guys.
Yeah. So I guess. We're critics to an audience to about 30. But I think this movie is just fucking bonkers. and I think like if an audience wanted to get into this, they would. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this is a weird. It's like it's a movie that is like meant for genre fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I agree.
It's like later Friday the 13th films where it's like, and like anybody who wants to be and like it's coming around this time so that around Halloween you'll watch it and be like, oh man, this movie is fucking weird, dude. Like,
yeah.
And I think like I don't know if it's entirely successful, but I will say that like I am not a fan of James Wan for a lot of things, but there are some legitimately cool moments of cinematography and some really fun things that happen in this movie. That I think the critics are right on this one. The audience is stupid, but you know, that's just that like,
yeah.
To bounce off of you there with some of the shots, anytime she would like see Gabriel killing people and the world would like melt away, super into it. Every time one of those shots popped up, I was like, oh, I love just the melt away aspect. It was just really cool for me. I'm a sucker for simple things like that.
One of the coolest shots in this movie, it's not that where like it's like the top down shot.
I wrote that good. Too. Yeah.
I love
that. I love that.
I'd never seen it done that way before, where it's almost
not
like they had
for so long. It's so sustained. Yeah.
Where it's almost like they had to have made it on a soundstage and just fucking shot a crane over it, and like, but it was very cool. I liked that a lot. And it kind of like, to your point, Corbin, it kind of makes you think about the canned dialogue because of how smart some of those shots are. It's like, oh, so this has to be intentional, which I don't think, like, not to put myself above a regular audience member because I'm really not, but like, I think if you're just sitting to watch a movie and you leave it afterwards and you're not like, you don't have to sit with it for a day or two to do a fucking podcast with, you're not going to think about that bit of it. And you're going to be like, that movie was just fucking stupid. Like, every bit of dialogue felt so fake and hokey. And so there is that aspect of it that I think that I can understand why it might be so divisive for audiences.
For sure. And I think that there's also like, I mean, you just have to think about the fact that James Wan has sort of cultivated an image for himself in horror, in mainstream horror especially, right? And so the type of people, the average person, I'll say, because I get super excited when he comes out with a new movie, but the average person that's getting excited for a new James Wan movie, especially after the last 10 years of paranormal horror from him, is looking for something pretty specific, and it just isn't it, you know? Like, this movie isn't it at all. And I think
that shows in the audience score.
For sure. There's a level of expectation there. And I also think that, you know, Bobby mentioned it earlier, that this movie feels like it's for genre fans. And I agree with that. And I think that it's not just for genre fans, but it's for genre fans of very specific eras. Because if you are somebody who got into horror, let's say the last 15 years, and you have only watched movies as they've come out, this movie even still is probably not hitting a lot of like the buttons for you, because this movie is taking a lot from like mid 70s to early 80s, and then very much so like the late 90s. Like there's a lot of oddly melodramatic aspects to it. Like it feels like it's taking elements of like the slasher era after Scream came out, but without the satire, when it was like the I Know What You Did Last Summer era.
Yeah.
And then putting it inside a modern giallo setup. And it's just silly. It's just silly.
Yeah. It's Wan's film school contemporaries if they made a giallo. Like, yeah.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly.
And again, it's a weird kooky mashup that it kind of fucking works.
Like, I think it really works. Yeah.
Especially for a popcorn flick. And that's what this is. Like I want to be very clear. Like, I talked a lot last week about how Beyond the Black Rainbow is this weird, esoteric, very crazy. This is not that at all. And it never, but it's
also not trying to be like at all.
No, it's a very fun romp though.
Definitely. Like, I mean, this movie, like the villain barely even has an objective. Like that's how thin it is. Like,
yeah,
we're just here to see some crazy stuff happen for basically no reason. Sometimes that's enough.
Can I ask a question that we typically never get enough time to talk about?
Yeah.
The score.
Yeah.
Weak, right?
Bad.
Incredibly weak.
I would go so far as to say the music was distracting in this film.
I would agree with that. I felt that the music did nothing but cut tension when in scenes where it deserved to have tension.
Really?
I agree so much.
I sat there in moments, and I stand by this, where like every time like it would come out, I was just like, this would be so much scarier if the soundtrack was different. Like,
so after pretty early in the movie, the partner cop of Shaw. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
The partner cop of Shaw says, no forced entry and abusive husband. Motive. Like right after that, it's maybe 15, 20 minutes into the film, I have written down, has there been any time without background music? Because it's just constant in this film.
Who is Gabriel? Bump!
And there's like one track that keeps repeating that's
but it's
oddly like a pop sounding
it's a cover
intro to a song. I knew I'd heard whatever that tune was, but I couldn't place it. It's been bothering me.
So I guess 2-1. I adore the music in this movie. I absolutely loved it. Every time they chose to cut the tension with just an absolutely ridiculous musical piece, I smiled. I thought it was so funny and so well done. Like there was this really silly like combination of early 2000s like almost like metal horror soundtrack combined with giallo like camera zooms, and it got me every time, and I loved it. And that cover that Alan's talking about, adored it. I wrote down about the music several times. I really liked that it was there like basically the whole time, and I didn't complain at all because I thought it was really good. I think it completely matches the atmosphere, the intended atmosphere of the movie. And I think that if you're watching the movie and after you kind of know what is actually the intention, the music totally fits. And yeah, if you're still thinking that it's a serious movie, the music is so distracting. But I think the music is absolutely keys into the vibe of the film in a perfect way.
In some moments it does, but like there are moments that truly are meant to be tense that the music does not serve.
I don't know.
Like again, I'm gonna like there are other giallos or other like what is it? The Final Door or The Beyond. The Beyond, I'm sorry. The Beyond has plenty of moments where they have like this like weird like jazzy bass line. Like that that a lot of giallo Italian films had, and like in scary moments to kind of cut the tension, but like throughout the movie when you start hearing that, the tension starts to rise, right? Because of that. And at the end, the scariest bit of that movie is the very end in The Beyond, and like it's completely silent and it works, and they never have that in this movie.
Yeah, because I think that the music is part of like the genre soup of the movie, and that's, you know,
yeah. But you can also like take that, right, and admit that like there are parts when you soup something, when you throw stuff in a soup, some flavor is going to get missing that I think might have been better suited to be in there.
Maybe.
And so
I agree in general, but I don't know that I.
And you don't agree in this instance.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think I would change it. Like after I finished watching it, I didn't end up watching this one with Jill. I was going to. She's a James Wan fan. We're gonna try to watch it together. Couldn't. After I finished watching it, I did tell her like I'll watch this again with you anytime because I loved it. I thought it was just very fun, and I think the music really keyed into that for me personally. Wouldn't change it. I'm sorry you guys didn't enjoy the soundtrack as much as I did.
It just seemed excessive.
It is excessive. Like, no, I agree 100%. Yeah. I'm not disagreeing. So I guess the question
I would ask there.
Yeah.
I would ask, is that a common thing in just giallos in general? Is like score being like that, or is this just a unique thing with what James Wan was doing?
So giallos are more thrillers than they are horror flicks. So there's a little bit more of
they're like violent thrillers, basically.
Yeah, you can play. They're usually murder mysteries, so you can play a little bit more with like soundtrack to make it less scary and more like you want to figure out what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So yes and no. Mm-hmm. Like I think Corbin hit the nail on the head. That's very 90s in that way.
Yeah,
just like
I wouldn't use this soundtrack as like an example of a giallo soundtrack. I just think it's attached to a movie that has giallo influences. But I do think that most giallos have very good soundtracks. I think that music is pretty key to that genre in general.
Hey, speaking of, we've been saying giallo a lot. Does anyone want to define what a giallo is? Like, I know we've kind of like piecemealed it.
Corbin, take the rope here. Take it away.
It is Bobby mentioned it. It's basically a murder mystery. It's an Italian genre that is at its core a thriller, like a detective thriller almost. But over time, and as Western like slasher sensibilities kind of ported over, it became a very violent genre while keeping it the way the story was told. And so usually when you would say, oh, giallo, like the type of movie you're describing is an Italian murder mystery with like a slasher type villain who is exceedingly violent. And like lots and lots of blood, heavy gore elements. But the story is usually still forward, unlike a slasher where like the point is about the kills. Like it's still about the story. It just happens to have that same type of violence. There's a lot of things that this movie has that most giallos have, which is like Gabriel wears like black leather gloves. That's very giallo. Like that's typical. Like the knife, the weapon that he uses, very typical stuff like that.
The killer is typically a character that you can figure out throughout the movie. Like if you watch like Deep Red is like probably one of the best, if not the best giallo that came out. It's one of my favorites. There's like black, especially like black leather trench coat, black gloves. Yeah, exactly. Like you were
the
saying,
way that he looks is like it's 100%. Like that's like every giallo villain looks like that basically.
Do you think that this movie will help bridge that kind of gap for the more average person to look into that? Like, if you liked this, here's something that's a little more in depth, but is in the same kind of vein?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm going to say no. I think that, a few years ago, they remade Suspiria. It was incredible. Fantastic. Yeah. I would say all just as good as the original in different ways. And that movie did not move the needle on the genre. And I think if that didn't do it and that had A-list actors, like that was a big movie. I don't see it happening. I don't think so.
I think that this, if anything, will in this it with like it'll be like 16-year-old Corbins and Allens and Bobbies who are like moving from point A to let's start a podcast in our late 20s. And they'll be like, oh man, I really like that movie Malignant. what are some of its influences, and then they might go into that. But that is going to be a subset of a subset of a subset of people who will
niche of a niche.
Yeah. I mean that's not to say, right? Like if you have a Shudder account, and by the way, Shudder, please sponsor us. If you have a Shudder account, like you can go watch a lot of these movies in their essentials. That's where I watched them for the first time. It was like in my mid to late 20s. Was watching a lot of these giallos, so like they're not even that widely or easily accessible. So there's a certain level
now.
Of like yeah. So there's some difficulty even in that. I just don't. While these movies should be watched, I don't think this will do it.
Yeah, and I also I don't, even if it gets people checking out its influences, I think part of the question you're asking is like, do I see this movie causing an American giallo renaissance? Like, do I see 2 or 3 years from now more movies inspired by this? No, not more than there would have been anyway. I think,
I think part of that has to do with assholes like me no longer believing James Wan is an auteur, and so people will be like, he's just making bullshit. So this is just another James Wan film. Because at the end of the day, does this still feel distinctly James Wan in both good and bad ways? Yes, but I think where the Conjuring universe of feature films is James Wan not leaning in, this is him decidedly leaning in. And honestly, James, baby, just lean in, pal. Yeah. This is a way more fun
exactly.
ride.
It's indulgent in the best ways.
Yeah,
for sure. I definitely think that this will be a franchise.
And it'll fall apart immediately because he'll do 2, and then it'll just be over, and I'll never watch a single one after.
I definitely think we could get at least one more pretty good one.
We'll get 5 more. And
one of them pretty good one.
And one of them will be good, and it'll be the next one he directs. Will it be 2? I don't know. Will it be 8? Who knows?
I think it's important to remember that James Wan, even though he has mega franchises in all of the big subgenres from the last 20 years, he has not kickstarted a genre. Even his last 2 big franchises, Conjuring and Insidious, were both paranormal movies that were riding a wave of something that started with Paranormal Activity. And so we've never really seen him kickstart a genre, and I don't know that it's gonna happen. Saw, I guess.
Yes, Saw was Cube.
Exactly. Even Saw was that came
Hellraiser.
And while Rob Zombie was kind of hitting his mainstream stride, and there's a lot of sensibilities there that cross over.
Did Martyrs come out before Saw?
Maybe Saw came out in 2004, so
I think the actual original version of Martyrs came out before then too. Let me go ahead and look, because
we're doing on the air research.
Yeah, I don't want to be wrong. I don't like being wrong about these things.
But hold on, Bobby. You're never wrong. Don't admit to ever being wrong. You've said it yourself.
I'm never wrong. He didn't say it.
Yeah. That's why I checked. I checked to make sure that I would never be wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm not. It came out in 2008, so I was not incorrect. I just made sure I wasn't. But what would you say while we're here? Right. What would you say this is riding the wave off of, though?
I think that, I mentioned it, I think on the Candyman episode, that we're seeing a slasher resurgence. Mm-hmm. And I think that this is him basically propositioning Warner Brothers and saying, hey, this is big, and I bet, I could do it, but an original IP. And then he got the check because of that. And then instead of doing a slasher, did the giallo version of it. I will say that's where it came from.
I think you're right. I also think that Gabriel could fit very well into slasher canon.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, easy to recognize.
He's got a unique murder weapon.
Mm-hmm.
He looks scurry.
Mm-hmm.
He does not. It only requires you to see his gross face one time, and then you just put backwards face on somebody else for the other times.
It's great. Like I could easily see like that being that it's a very merchandisable character.
Yeah.
And so, do I think
it just came out in a different era
in that way?
Yeah,
for sure.
people would wear him as a costume.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So guys, what do we want to fucking rate this guy though?
What do we want to rate this guy?
Yeah, what do you rate this guy?
Yeah. So I think Alan should go first.
I
see him over there contemplating, hoping he doesn't have to go first.
Exactly. I was doing the look at anyone except the teacher look right there, Yeah.
Yeah, well, I saw you.
So originally I wrote down 2.5. Right in the middle. And I think... that was immediately after watching the movie. I'm going to give it a full point, 3.5. After sitting with it for a day, talking about it more, and just reflecting on what I experienced. This movie is just fun. The middle bit kind of drags a little, but when the movie goes and hits its stride, it just kind of hits you hard there near the end. And the third act of this movie is must watch for slasher fans of any capacity. I mean, it's just a romp from that point onward. We didn't talk about it too terribly much, but when Gabriel throws that chair across the entire precinct to nail those two, it's played somewhat seriously. I laughed because that shit was hilarious. He straight up spins and discus throws this thing across the whole air. Hilarious.
Why he even do that?
I don't know. He just had to. But I think this movie is a lot of fun to watch. It has, we've talked about Gabriel, him walking backwards to do everything is interesting and cool. When we see the transformation proper, it's a good bit of body horror. But I don't think for me I could go much more than a 3.5 because and part of that could just be I wasn't really expecting a lot of the campy melodramaticness that I was going to get. So that's probably just on me from having a preconceived idea of what I was going to experience. And this movie is like, nope, you ain't getting that. And it's hard for me to kind of course correct from that point onward because I just had an idea of what I was going to experience and this was not it. But it wasn't too bad for that, I guess I would say. So for me, I'd say it's 3.5.
Okay. Bobby?
Okay. So, for long-time listeners of the show, we know that a 2 for Bobby is the worst place that you can be. I need to explain this when I give you the journey that this movie went on for me. Because it started off at a 1.5. Mm-hmm. And that was a good thing. I thought this was a very fun piece of bad cinema. And then I started to connect the dots. And this, again, I just started to be like, wait, I think a lot of this is intentional. And it jumped up several points to a 3.5. And that's where I landed with it. This movie's a solid 7 out of 10. It's not perfect by any means. It's a popcorn flick, so it's not high art. But it is just, I laughed. I was like, that's fucking cool. I enjoyed myself, watching this movie. And I don't like James Wan typically. And so it was nice to enjoy a film by a director I didn't necessarily always have the highest opinion of. So I got proved wrong. That's a good thing here. There's just like Alan said it right. Gabriel will be a very cool horror villain, a very cool slasher that I will be increasingly disappointed with in the same way that that's happened to Pinhead. It's it's campy, it's goofy, it's a slasher movie, and it's also got those weird giallo influences that just gives it that extra bit of goofy class that you got to give it a 3.5 out of 5.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the reason why I went last is because I thought that I was going to give it the highest score. And I wanted to go to last for that reason, because I wanted you guys to after talking, I thought you guys were going to give it a relatively low score, and then I was going to be able to swing in with the big score, right? And of course, now maybe I should have went first because I'm also going to give it a 3.5.
Yeah! Universal, let's go!
We are a monolith! We are a monolith!
It's not quite a 4, but
exactly.
It's very enjoyable. Do I want to watch it again? Yes. Does it drag a little bit? Is it maybe 20 minutes too long? Yes. But besides that, I didn't really have any problems with it. If you like James Wan, you were going to like this movie. Probably. It has just about everything you would like about a James Wan movie is in here somewhere. I think that it was just completely over the top, silly fun, and I like that sometimes. The modern horror aesthetic is very serious, very meaningful, and I love that. And this movie was fun for me in a nostalgic way. It kind of brings me back to the type of horror movies that got me into horror, and I really appreciated it for that. And I think that probably years from now, this will be like a comfort movie that I just toss on and like vibe to. So 3.5.
This is the background movie while we're all playing like Monopoly or something.
Yeah, exactly.
You get a cool scene, like, let's pause the game.
Oh man, my trophy just went past. Just bought Boardwalk as the trophy smashing.
Before we move on to the essentials section, I had one question for you guys. That's kind of a spoiler question, which is why I want to ask you.
Okay.
At what point did you realize why the movie is called Malignant?
Oh, like immediately. They say it's time to cut out the cancer. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yeah. But like the fact that he's like a brain tumor essentially. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Like when did you figure it out?
I just didn't think about it until like the credits were rolling, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, that's why it's called Malignant."
You didn't get it. You didn't get it when they fucking super quick cut to her face goes, "We time to cut out the cancer."
No, I just didn't think about it at all.
It's like, man, why are they making that a thing? Why are they doing it like that?
It's time to cut out the cancer. Oh my god.
He kind of sounded like Davy Jones.
Yeah, a little bit. Like Davy Jones through
not Davy Jones. What's the one? The dude who had like the black ink. Javier Bardem.
Oh yeah, I don't remember. Coming up on Essential Scares, Pirates of the Caribbean.
4?
Yeah.
5? I don't remember. It's a bad movie. Yep. Hey, is this movie essential?
Yep. Is this essential? No spoilers. Bobby, I think, has strong feelings about this, and I want him to go first.
No, I don't think it's essential. This is gonna feel weird. I don't like that this is a comparison I'm about to make. But it's one I'm gonna have to make. It kind of reminds me of John Carpenter's The Fog. In the way that it's a good one, that John Carpenter is horror royalty. John Carpenter can do no wrong, for me at least. And I feel like for a lot of people, James Wan has that similar place in their hearts. But this movie will be a really good movie that is probably ultimately forgotten because it won't stand on its own. And I have a feeling that as soon as this movie becomes a franchise, this will serve ultimately in like a weird way where they're slowly going to back away from some of the canon that was established in this because it makes it too tight
too hard to be like a long franchise.
For him to win, they're probably gonna Friday the 13th which is fine, but I
can already
don't
think of several ways that they can work on this movie.
Yeah, one of the easiest ones has to do with the ending. We didn't get a chance to talk about in the spoiler cast, so no one knows what I'm talking about, but if you watch the movie, you do.
Yep.
Yeah, I just can't. It's very good. It's very fun. It's not good. Good is not the right word I should use, but it's very fun. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. It's a very fun movie. But it's just, I don't know. I have been very wishy-washy on new movies our entire time, and I've just decided I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm just gonna go with a hard no. It's not essential.
Nice.
No.
Yeah, so I am going to go ahead and I'll be the Bobby this week, okay? I'm going to be wishy-washy. For me, I think that this is going to be a no but, right? Because if I say, I can say now, no. I think that is a relatively easy no, but a hard recommend, I guess. Yes. I really liked it. We all gave it a 3.5 out of 5. If you skipped ahead, we all gave it 3.5. I really enjoyed it. I want to watch it again. I think that you would, if you're listening to this, you'd probably like it. But is it going to be looked back on as an essential part of 2020's horror? I doubt it. I would be shocked actually if it was. But I mean, happily shocked, I guess, because that means the genre ended up moving in a way that during the spoiler cast, I predicted it would not, but I would like for that to happen. So my but is, if this ends up being, the next Conjuring with 8 movies in it, it's hard to think that this one isn't going to be the best one. And then it probably does become essential, because then you have another long-running franchise that you probably want to have some knowledge on, and then you'd probably want to watch, the beginning or the best of that franchise. And then I think this movie would sit there. Assuming that this franchise only goes for 2, let's say, which is what I would predict right now, 2 movies, I would say that overall it would be a no.
I have a no, but from a different angle.
Okay.
2 wishy-washies and neither one of them are me?
Yeah, this is my first. This is my first wishy-washy.
Makes me feel strong and confident.
Yeah, it's nice.
Chad
it's
Bobby
nice, right?
over here, just it's a no. Fuck y'all.
I'm never gonna say maybe ever again. I don't care how wrong I am, because I'm never wrong. But that's not important right now.
Yeah.
So my no, but more so comes from more of a prediction, I would say. So I asked the question. This isn't necessarily a spoiler, because I think it might. I asked a question in the discussion having to do with will this movie usher in a genre to America that is not as common? And if it does, then I think this movie would absolutely be essential.
Yeah.
Period. Just full stop, yes. Because if it were to make that genre more digestible or more known or more mainstream in any real capacity, then I think, kind of in a similar way with Corbin said, where if this becomes a 9-series franchise, it kind of has to be in that way. Will that happen? It's hard to say. I'm just not going to rule it out, because I'm a hopeless. I don't know. I like to think that for some reason this movie might spur people on in some way, because it's a real fun flick. I would like to see more blends of this. Like I personally, I guess my no but kind of comes more from I want to see this explored more, so I'm just gonna like will it into the ether that it happens.
I don't think it will, but it probably should.
Yeah, that's a good.
And
honestly,
for my own
yes,
sake, I hope it does.
Yeah, well, and honestly, the other thing is this makes me want to explore that genre much more, because I think there's probably some. There are probably some movies that are going to speak to me very, very much so. So I just need to jump into them, frankly. I just do.
Yeah.
So it's a no, but for me.
There you go. So we'll add that to the list of things to look back on in 5 years.
Yeah, we'll come back and be like, Alan was fucking wrong.
When not a single other mainstream movie has come out in that show.
We reviewed this? What?
Oh.
And Bobby will be able to be like, see, I've always been right.
I'm a genius.
It's a 5-year track.
Oh, man. But, hey, you know what? Speaking of Star Trek, what have you guys been up to lately? What are your handles?
Well, as you've seen, my handle is a seal punter. You can find me just about anywhere on that handle. I have been playing Deathloop quite a bit as of late, a PlayStation exclusive from Bethesda, which
Microsoft
is owned by
Studios.
Microsoft. That's a whole different thing. I'm a sucker for Arcane Studios. I will buy literally anything that studio produces with minimal insight into what the project is. I love the Dishonored franchise. They're one of my favorite modern day developers. Deathloop is a very interesting game. If you've got a PS5, buy it, because frankly, what other exclusives are you playing at this point? I mean, that's just true with any of the modern consoles at this point.
I'm trying to do a Mage Run in the Demon Souls remake.
Ooh, wait,
I don't have a PS5.
Hold on.
No, I was being a dick.
Don't do that to me. I got excited, because then that would mean we could suggest other things for side series, and now I'm gonna cry. The other thing I've been doing is when I was on my vacation last week, you guys didn't see an interruption, but we haven't talked in like 2 weeks. I read like 150 pages of The Stand, because I gave my headphones to my wife for the plane back home, and I read for 2 hours. It was lovely. That book's amazing.
Stand's very good.
It's very, very good.
Stand's really fucking dope.
A much slower burn than I was expecting. I'm 200 and something pages in, and it's like only just now starting to get serious in the book, which I just didn't expect that. But
reading The Stand during the COVID era is very scary.
Yes, it is. You know, I'm sitting there on a plane in a KF95 mask with 2 people next to me, just reading a book about a super flu. Yeah. It is a little like, it kind of feels pretentious, frankly, to read that book at this time. I'll be honest. It really does, but it's just, I finally started to crack it.
So I started reading it at the beginning of the pandemic, and like, I didn't know
still
that
reading it because it's a 1200.
No, I finished it because I'm a golden god, and I audiobook, and I listen at times 2 speed at a bare minimum because I'm fucking tough. But I got my brain is wrinkly and wet and squishy.
No smooth brain, Bobby.
No,
not a smooth spot there.
No, it's all folds, baby. It's only folds.
And those folds are all black rainbows.
Oh my god.
Anyway, but like the fact that how slowly and how fucking fast it expanded, like I was like, oh no, we're all gonna die.
Well, it's way worse because like even again, Stephen King is a literary genius in so many ways, but the way he's like, oh, and in this movie theater, 50 more people got the super flu.
Yeah.
Just like he drops it right at the very end of a paragraph, like, oh yeah, this description I've been giving you, 50 more people just died. Have fun with that information.
And then he took a bump of cocaine.
Yep.
There's like, I could put out like 7,000 more pages tonight. Oh, fuck.
Yep. And then he did.
Yeah. He wrote it right after writing that chapter. Yes.
Tell us what's up.
Shit. Big Brother. 2 weeks have gone by, and I am not up to date on it, but I will be able to tell you that, in fact, the Cookout did make it to Final 6. And I do not know who got eliminated tonight for the double eviction, but I do know that Tiffany, if you guys are actually watching, probably did get evicted. That's my guess. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be Tiffany, and if they're smart, they'd pick Xavier, but they probably aren't. But if they were, they'd pick Xavier, because if he's not, he's gonna win that game. That nobody in this panel cares except for me and maybe nobody else. That's fine.
I care, other than I just don't know. I care because I care about you. Yeah.
Destiny.
Got it.
40K. My usual shit. Me and Corbin also kind of went on a vacation this weekend to Wisconsin for a buddy's bachelor party. And I got
he was on the show, even, that buddy.
Yeah, Taylor for Taylor's bachelor party, friend of the show. And we went to a distillery called Driftless Glen, and they had some really nice stuff. I would really recommend their double barrel gin.
Yeah, it's really good.
I typically drink whiskey, but it's gin. It's gin aged in whiskey barrels.
Is that the gin you sent us a picture of, Corbin?
Yes.
Okay,
makes sense. It's very, very good. If you're an alcohol drinker, especially if you drink gin, and especially if you drink whiskey and want to get into other stuff, it's really, really good. Really, really accessible. I drank it straight, and I drank it in a cocktail, and it works both very, very well.
What cocktail?
I had a margarita and a gin and tonic with it. And the gin and tonic was not recommended, and I make a fake gin and tonic with LaCroix, and it worked. Yeah, it's technically a tonic water.
Kinda.
I've tried
there's no tonic in it. It's just sparkling.
Yeah. It's basically a tonic water. Shut up. Sparkling water is basically a tonic. I know tonic is sweeter, but whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
There's calories in tonic. There's stuff in there.
Yeah, but you get the flavor from a sparkling water. You get a little lemon or a little lime.
Not tonic flavor.
Yeah, but you get a little lemon, a little lime.
That's like saying you could just freely swap out club soda for tonic at any time.
I didn't say that because those are two very different things.
It's like saying it.
No, because club soda is different. There's an equivalent exchange with tonic water and LaCroix.
Bobby, you're just gonna keep on digging, aren't you? At this point, you're just going.
He has to.
Listen,
you can't stop.
He can't be wrong. He can't be wrong. He's just got to keep going.
Listen, if there's one thing that you all know about me, is Bobby will go with the bit as long as it takes.
True.
Oh goodness.
I said it was a fake gin and tonic. You heard me say it was a fake gin and tonic, so I'm not gonna. Yeah. So I'm not gonna
call it gin and sparkling, buddy.
Because that's so many extra syllables. Yeah. I can't be like, let me get a G and T, and
it's called gin and a sparkling gin.
Yeah, a cocksucking gin and tonic.
Oh God! All right, you can find me anywhere at Corbangrang.
Oh wait, Speaking of, Twitch.tv/TheRedWinnie. Didn't say that.
There it is. In the interim, I have continued diligently my Buffy the Vampire Slayer watch through, to the surprise of literally anybody that's hearing those words come out of my mouth. I have finished season 2, and that means that I'm 30% of the way through the show. 15%, I think, if I include Angel, which I am. So it sounds like a lot percent, but it's actually not. Still really enjoying that. I'm glad that I went on this adventure, and I'm probably going to finish it a lot sooner than my original April 2022 scheduled date. Which, if you've done the math, I believe I'm ahead currently. I actually have gotten some time in for gaming outside of Destiny. I've been playing Super Hot Mind Control Delete.
Good.
Absolutely love the original Super Hot. This Super Hot is it takes away some of those existential horror elements that the original had, but it replaced them with a very enjoyable roguelike system. And I really like it. If you liked the original Superhot, you would probably like this one. It's quick, it's fun. I think it's included on Game Pass, so if you're an Xbox gamer like we are, it's free, basically. You can find the podcast just about anywhere at Essential Scares. We're active on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And on all of those, we have links to our Facebook group and our Discord. If you join our Discord, imagine if it was discard. Just throwing it away every week. If you join our Discord...
Holy shit, dude. What was that?
You can... My camera's messing up. If you join our Discord, you can watch movies with us every Wednesday. This past week, we watched Piranha 3D, which is a film that I very much enjoyed. It's not good, but I liked it a lot. But you know what? That wraps it up. It was a terrible joke, and I couldn't possibly continue the show after it. Thank you for yes. No,
it wasn't that bad. You're okay.
I've made worse jokes on this show.
Yeah, but I haven't.
Okay, fair.
No.
Oh my god. All right, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for listening. If you like the show, share it with your friends. Next week we're going to talk about the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Thank you to Alan and Bobby for being on the show with me. I have been your host, Corbin, and this has been Essential Scares.
It's time to cut out the breakdown, baby.